So we worked on this build order thing on the last video. I think it'd be cool to add images to all these. I'm not sure if I want to continue on just adding different types of starting units for the different races, or what I want to what do I want to do. I don't know. I might take a little break from this, and someone actually suggested that I have a counter for when people try to view build orders. I don't know if that's actually useful or not. But hey, it's something that we could add to the application that would potentially give us an insight as to like what build orders are kind of interesting to look at. So when someone were to go to an actual build order, like let's say they go to all, actually I think it'd be better to default this instead of macro, we should default it to all. So let's go to this page. I think it's like called matchups or something. And let's go ahead and go to the top. I think I'm defaulting build types to macro. Right here we have a index 0 kind of setup. Instead, I'm going to go ahead and just default this to all. And in fact, I think what we could do, probably just add all to the build types. Now, I think there's a reason why I didn't do that. Because I think the build type, you know, why did I do that? I think it's because this build types is actually used on other pages potentially. Submit build, this build types is being imported from here. Yeah, so I don't want to add all to this because that doesn't make sense to have it show up in like the drop downs on other pages. So I'm just going to go ahead and make a constant up here and call like all build type is a string of all. And so just so we don't have like hard-coded alls all over the place, I'm going to go ahead and find the other instances that I use all, which I believe is down near the bottom. Okay, so let's just go ahead and get rid of that. And doing a little bit of cleanup, get rid of that magic number stuff. And then we are also doing it here, so let's just get rid of that. Okay, so make sure the page still works. And when I refresh, it should default to all. That's good. Second thing, what we're trying to do that I kind of got distracted with is when you click on a build, I want to keep track of how many times someone has gone to this URL. How many times does someone try to view this build? Again, I don't know if it's useful or not, but it's kind of cool to just play around with Prisma and like add a new data model and figure out like how we can do that. So let's go back to the Prisma schema. And on the build order itself, we could potentially add a new field here called like views. And we're going to give this a, what is it called? A number? Might be an int. And then we can default it to 0. I think you could do that. And again, whenever you add a new property to your Prisma schema, you have to go ahead and run a Prisma migrate dev. Let's run this. You see here I'm typing Prisma migrate dev, and it should run it. It should ask me like, what do I want to name this migration? And I'm going to go ahead and just name it, adding ability to track views. Okay, should be pretty good. And then we're going to go ahead and just run npm run dev, and just go ahead and restart that server. And now we should have access to do something with the views. Now, right off the bat, I am seeing some red in this file. So let's just go ahead and go here. And let's figure out why is this thing complaining. Conversion of build order to record string may be a mistake because neither types is sufficiently overlaps with each other. Property views is incompatible with index finish. So I think the schema before, everything was a string, right? But now the types are yelling at me because like I can't store a string or a number. So I think I might need to do something like this to make it happy potentially. But if you do that, then actually let's just go ahead and look at this. Author, title, and description. Yeah, these should all be strings. Yeah, so I think the issue is build up here. Like if you hover over build, I believe this is like a build order, which is probably being imported directly from the backend of the Prisma client. So it makes sense as why it's yelling at us. But let's just go ahead and figure out a way that we can maybe extract just a subset of things from that build. So how would we do that? I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and put a type here called like editable build order fields, maybe. And that's going to be a type when I believe what we can actually do is call like, is it called pick? I might have to go look this up. I think it's like pick. And then you can pass in build order, and then you could probably pass in like some keys maybe. Description. Let's see if this is how you do it. I might have to go Google this. I don't remember. Okay, maybe it's this. Description. What were the other fields? title, author. That's not how you do it. So let's go TypeScript pick fields from a type. Pick by type. Using TypeScript 4.1, this can be made even shorter while also allowing you to pick optional properties. What is this? No, there has to be an easier way to do that. Keep the type. Key of C1. Key of. Maybe I need to say key of. No. Is it really that hard? Let me go to the actual like TypeScript documentation and see what they give us. It should be a pick, a type, constructs a type by picking a set of property keys. And this is how they do it. Pick, do, yeah, so that's what I'm doing, right? So why is this thing not why is it complaining? Let's look at this. Generic type pick requires two type arguments. Am I crazy? What am I missing here? To do, title, incompleted. Title, incompleted. This has the properties that we were looking for. Why can't this work? Okay, so build order, does it have a description? It does. Does it have a title? Oh, I'm a Dumbo. Okay, I had a comma here. That's probably why it's complaining. So for all you beginners out there, make sure you look at your code before you start doing stupid stuff like Googling like I was doing. So this should be good. Double check your code. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a record of, I think I can actually just do this. Is that proper? Element implicitly has any type because expression of type string can't be used to index type editable build order fields. Okay, let's just, I'm so bad at TypeScript, it just frustrates me, but honestly, let's just go ahead and do this. I'm going to say like sub build equals build as this. Does that complain? Sub build is declared but is never used. Okay. And then I'm going to say sub build that. I mean, honestly, like what I'm doing right now is not, oh, I need to wrap this. That. And this needs to be a parenthesis. Oh my gosh. Parenthesis, parenthesis, parenthesis. Guess I'm missing another parenthesis or something. Dude, it's stuff like this that makes me want to quit programming. Like, like this is something so simple. And I'm pretty sure people have left me comments to explain like what I need to do, but I just kind of liked the comments and moved on with my life because I'm a noob. But okay, this thing, parentheses, it's either going to default to that, a value or empty string. That makes sense. Two lowercase, okay. Includes, okay, that makes sense. We're going to return here. We're saying sum. We have some curly braces, so this thing looks good. Parentheses to close off this one. Okay. I'm missing a colon, which I don't even know what it was before. So now I'm going to have to save the file, go back to my git diff, and figure out what the heck this code was before because I totally messed it up. It was true. So let's just go ahead and put true there, and then put a parenthesis. Oh, that should be good. Okay, so now this thing is complaining because key is a type of string, but subbuild doesn't seem to know that. So like I could say potentially that this is going to be, instead of a string, these could be some types. Can I say key of? Let me try this. What does that do? Boolean is unassignable. 41 who stumbles upon this in the future, you're getting TypeScript error. Okay. Then simply specify that the expression of type string is a key of type of that object. For example, field username as key of object type. As key of object type. Let's try that out. As key of that. There we go. Did I learn that? Did I actually learn something new in TypeScript? I'm probably going to forget tomorrow, but I think we have that working. Honestly, it's stuff like this that makes me want to go back to JavaScript, but I do believe in the benefits of TypeScript, so let's just go ahead and continue on. Okay, so now I guess we refactored that a little bit, and we got carried away. What were we trying to do originally? The original thing we're trying to do was we are going to keep track of when someone views this build. Now, obviously, you could use like Google Analytics or some type of analytics system to keep track of how many people have gone to this, but I think having it stored in the database might be nice because you just want to store it also. Like, what if other people want to see how many times this build has been viewed? Well, that's why I'm going to store it in my Prisma schema. So let's go to a router. I'm going to go to builds router. Let's add a new mutation that just keeps track of like when someone has viewed this. Now, obviously, this thing could be abused. Like, someone could just keep on hitting this endpoint over and over again and like incrementing your like view count, but whatever. So I'm going to say view build or increment build order view. How about that? That's going to be a public procedure. Remember, in gRPC, you do a public procedure or private procedure, or I guess in the T3 stack. And then I could say input is going to be a, we probably need to get the build ID. So let's just go ahead and grab this one. Go ahead and put that there. And then also we're going to use a mutation. So let's just go ahead and say dot mutation, and let's just go ahead and grab this. That. Now, the thing we want to do is we want to get the build and update it. Now, I'm not sure how to do an increment with Prisma. I'm assuming there's a way to do it, and we'll have to figure that out. So let's go and see if ChatGPT will tell us how to do it. Otherwise, we're going to go to the Prisma docs. ChatGPT has made me a lazy developer. So how do I increment a field in Prisma? Or say, I'll say using Prisma. They have an increment method. So let's see what it tells us what to do. Update where, okay, data points, increment by 5. Okay, that's interesting. Let's just go ahead and grab these two things. You can also use decrement, that's cool. So Prisma build order, I'm gonna go ahead and call update here with a dot. Let me go ahead and undo that. I'll say dot update where ID is equal to input dot build ID. Data, and I'll say views increment by 1. And I'll just go ahead and say context Prisma. Increment does not exist on Prisma, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Well, that's interesting. Let's just go ahead and go to the Prisma docs, right? So that's an issue with ChatGPT is sometimes it tells you something and like you do it and it just doesn't work, right? So I don't know if maybe the Prisma that's on the context doesn't have that. Like if I were to do Prisma and just go ahead and import directly from like something, there's no increment there. So I don't know, maybe I'm just missing something. Let's go ahead and go to the docs. Where are the docs? Getting started. Hate these cookie banners, things that show up. Increment. Let's see if there's a nice way to just increment something. Update mini. Okay, so it looks like you just, oh, they already have a views. That's cool. That's the exact same thing we're trying to do. They have it. So thank you, ChatGPT, for telling us something that did not work. That's another issue. It's like it's going to tell you code that was based on like 2001 or something. So it's like a bunch of old references. So it's really not even useful. The more I think about it, like it's very unuseful. So you can do this, and I can say update. No, maybe I want to say update. Yeah, just update 1 like that. That should update the build. Let's go ahead and return it. So if this works, basically when this page loads, I want to hit that mutation where basically I can just go ahead and say like, yeah, I'll do a use effect. I'll say, Well, actually, I don't think I need to use effect. I could just go ahead and say like const increment view is equal to trpc.builds dot what's it? Increment to build order view dot use mutation. Go ahead and do that, and then I should be able to just call this. You know, I might need to use effect, so I'll just go ahead and add a use effect, and that use effect is going to be an empty array like this, so that when the component first loads, I can call the mutate method on this, and we can increment the view. It does say that it needs some data, so let's make sure that we pass it the build ID, which should be attached to. I think I'm on the wrong page. Might be on the wrong page. Let's cut this stuff out. Let's go to our file browser. Let's go to builds, and let's actually go to the right page this time. Helps if you're on the right page, right? Let's just go ahead and copy that in, use an effect. There might be a way to like pass this some options to have it like auto run, like on mount, or like, I don't know. Yeah, whatever. But basically, when this component or page first runs or loads, I want to use the build ID, which we've got from our router here, and we're going to call mutate. Now, I could also put the build ID here because I think potentially it could be undefined, so I think that's a more proper way to do it. It's also saying that the use effect was missing the dependency for increment view, so maybe we should add that in as well, which I'm guessing this could potentially be undefined maybe. I don't know, but let's just try it out. And what we could also do is let's display how many views are on the page. I'll just go ahead and put like a span here, and I will say build data, and I'll say views. Viewed X amount of times. How about that? Make it bold here. How's that? Now, if we go back to our application, it is being viewed, and I think I have an infinite loop going on. So that's probably not good. Let's go ahead and comment that out real quick. So another issue that I mean, this is something I've always complained about in React. It's very confusing. Even for people who are experienced with it, you forget about different things. So this is actually going to return a new reference every single time. Okay, so we don't want to like have this thing be invoked, you know, infinitely, because if this is a new reference, we can't listen for this thing and like run it when it changes. So what is the proper way to do this? Let's just go ahead and go to grpc, use mutation. Actually, this could also be called like a React query mutation run once on page mount. And there is a issue. Let's see what they say about this. Like, I would hate to have to put this in a use callback, but guessing we might have to. Okay, they're saying the function mutate is stable. So actually, if I were to say something like this and use this mutate function, this would probably be more stable, but then React complains about, exhaustive depths and stuff like that. So I'll just go ahead and just say mutate like this, and then we will say mutate, and my eslint should hopefully be happy with that. Let's go back to our code, and now that this thing has incremented a billion times, what I'm going to do is clear out Prisma. Actually, I don't need to clear out Prisma. Let's just go to the network tab. I'm going to go ahead and just refresh the page real quick. And let's make sure that it hits the mutate endpoint. Commit build order. It looks like it is. So I think this is working fine. I just got tripped up a little bit on some stuff. What I'm also going to do is let's just go to the global. I'm just going to make the whole body, I'm going to say text white. Okay, I want text to be white across the entire app for right now. So this looks pretty good. Let's just load up npx Prisma real quick, or Prisma Studio, npx Prisma Studio. And let's just delete. Let's just set this back to 0 like this. Go ahead and save that. And yeah, that should be good. Viewed 0 amount of times, refresh the page. Now it should have been incremented by 1, which technically, when you first view this page, we should probably like do some type of optimistic updates. The simplest approach that we could potentially do is just like add 1 to this. So like if it's not defined, then just like add 1. Or default to the 0 and add 1, so that when you first load the page, like it's actually going to represent you viewing the thing. I'll set this back to 0, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So if I refresh the page, what would you expect this to say? It should say 1, right? It doesn't. Why does it not say 1? I think it's like off by 1. So it should say like 3 in the back end. Okay, so data views. Oh, I should probably just default it to 1, right? Default it to 1. Or I'm going to pull this out to a computed. I'm going to say number of views is equal to this. And then I'm going to go ahead and say if this thing is set, which it should be defaulted to 0, but it has a potential to be undefined here. Which isn't good. I thought I set that to be like required. I don't know why Prisma is saying that could potentially be undefined. And since it could be potentially undefined, I'm going to go ahead and do this. It's either going to be the views plus 1. What do I want to do here? I think, okay, I'm just confused myself. I think I just want to add 1 to the entire thing. Default it to 0 if this is not defined, and then just always add 1 to it. It's been a long day, y'all. You know, I was struggling at work trying to debug some stuff, and now I'm like struggling with this video. But I think we're almost there. Go ahead, set that back to 0. And again, programming is not a race, right? It's like a marathon, not a race. So when I first refresh the page, it says 1. When I refresh it again, it should say 2, 3, and then that should match what the database is. Okay. Sounds good. And every time, hold on. Why did that just increment again? That's kind of weird. Why does it say 4 there? I think if I unfocus and go back, why does it do that? Oh, I know why it's doing that. Okay, so let's rethink this logic. When I switch tabs and go back to the page, this query is going to go ahead and refetch, which is fine. We can keep that. But now it's actually fetching the real view count, which might not be what we want. So we might actually just need to only set it to 1 if it's not defined. Otherwise, we need to set it to... Yeah, so this is kind of confusing. You know what? It's not that big of a deal. Let's just go ahead and do this. Whatever. Like, let's not waste time on something trivial like this. If it's starting off as 0, whatever. It'll just be off by 1. The user won't know. That's fine, right? But I guarantee there's a simple solution for that. Basically, it's when this page loads, you would need to increment the build, which is what we're doing here. Which would mean that this thing would be, for example, this would be starting at 0. But then we just mutated it, so it should be 1. Which means we probably need to update it to 1 here by either just like refetching this query, or we could potentially have some initial state for build. Maybe that's what we could do, but if we do that, we won't even know what it would be. So it's like we have to keep track of like, have we sent this thing already? If we have, then we'd have to add one. You know, I'm getting caught up on something that's really not even important. Let's be honest. Someone could leave a comment to show me a quick solution for it, but I don't think it's that important. But there we have it. We have a way to track how many times a build has been viewed. And we can kind of see those increment as we click on different things. We can also show them on this page as well. Like if I go to the matching builds page, which is here, if I wanted to show that in the build card, we should have the access to kind of show that somewhere. I could say like, it's really not important to see, honestly, but we could potentially put it, where do you want to put it? We could put it like up here maybe, like an eyeball icon and like the view count, or you could put it down here. I don't think it's important, honestly, but let's just go ahead and like, why is this a link? I'm going to get rid of that link. I don't think we should be putting that as a link. And then I'm going to go ahead and wrap this whole thing in a div. Give it a class name of flex. Then over here, I'm going to go ahead and actually I'm going to say justify between. That should space them out. And then over here, I'll say span. And then we're going to say build.view. Okay, will that display the views? 4. Okay. So I haven't even included like an icon library. It would be cool to add like a little eye icon there, but right now I'm just going to go ahead and make this text extra small. There we go. And I mean, we could potentially do an eye icon. What is it called? Hero icons, I believe. If you want to just do a hacky way to find an eye, you could just do this. I'll go ahead and say copy JSX. And up here, I'm going to go ahead and say eye icon is equal to that. And we are going to render that out. I think I can just say this. Okay, I have to make this a function, or I have to kind of like, yeah, let's just do this. I'll make it a function. So that's proper. Now, if I go back to the app, we should see an eye icon. Now, again, like we need to like space them out a little bit. So we could say flex column, gap of like 1. Oh, not flex column. What am I doing? Just flex. Yeah. And then also like items center should kind of put them centered together. It's a little bit off, and I don't know what it's hard to tell what the eye actually means, or if it's even important to show that, but at least we added something cool. And then like always, if you don't like it, just delete it, right? I'm doing like incremental design and incremental features. So if there's a feature that I add and I'm like, this thing seems kind of pointless, we could just remove it, or, you know, add a feature flag. There's something called feature flags in software engineering where you could dynamically show this if a certain feature is turned on. So you can keep all the code and logic there, but you just don't display it if you don't need it or something like that. But yeah, I think that's as far as I'm going to go today. If you guys enjoyed, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, and then also press the bell icon and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Have a good day, and be sure to join my Discord if you want another place to kind of hang out and get help when you're coding and just need a place to ask questions to other developers.